Hello everyone, so we are the reporter of the lesson 3, the assessment of reading performance. So assessment plays a crucial role in teaching and learning. These are measures to ascertain how and how much of the instructional delivery is carried out. Simply take note that assessment is basically the alignment of the objectives or outcome to the activities being carried out. While thought of learning outcomes, if not praised within or after the teaching and learning engagement, become ineffective. In teaching reading, there are assessment activities that are predominantly adopted towards the attainment of comprehension skills. So assessment is like the quality check in teaching and learning. It's how we make sure that we were teaching matches up with what we want students to learn. When we teach reading, we use assessments to see how will students understand what they've read. This helps us tweak our teaching to make sure everyone's getting the most out of it. So next slide. Next is on the concept of assessment. Assessment in reading instruction allows students to check their own understanding and monitor progress. When students engage in reading assessments, they get a chance to evaluate how well they've understood the material and track how they're improving over time. It's like having a personal progress tracker that helps them identify areas of strength and areas that need more focus. Next, it helps in attaining learning objectives and developing reading comprehension skills. So, assessments in reading instruction are designed to align with specific learning objectives. They're not just about checking off boxes, but are strategic tools to help students develop their reading comprehension skills. For instance, assessments might focus on summarizing, making inferences, or analyzing text structures, all aimed at achieving broader learning goals. Next, it reminds prospective teachers that every academic engagement should align with learning outcomes. It reminds prospective teachers that every academic engagement should align with learning outcomes. For teachers, assessments serve as a constant reminder that every lesson, activity, or assignment should be directly connected to the intended learning outcomes. This ensures that teaching efforts are purposely and contribute effectively to students' learning progress. Next, assessment is considered an essential part of teaching and learning. So assessments are not an add-on but an integral part of the teaching and learning process. They provide valuable feedback to both students and teachers, guiding instructional decisions and facilitating continuous improvement. Next, teacher must ensure assessment measures and activities capture intended demonstrations within a specified time frame. So effective assessments are designed to measure specific demonstrations of learning within a defined time frame. This requires teachers to carefully select assessment measures and activities that accurately reflect what students are expected to demonstrate and are administered at appropriate intervals to track progress every effectively. Next, valuable ideas, concepts, and purposes are shared by renowned authorities and research findings in this regard. So, insights from renowned authorities and research findings contribute significantly to shaping effective assessment practices. They provide valuable perspectives, concepts, and purposes that help educators design meaningful assessments that align with best practices and promote successful learning outcomes. So, next slide on the purpose of assessment in reading. So, assessment in reading instruction is crucial for addressing varying students' needs and ensuring successful lesson objectives are met. So, this means that assessment in reading are essential because they help teachers understand what each student needs and whether the lesson goals are achieved. It's like having a roadmap to tailor teaching to individual students while ensuring everyone reaches the intended learning targets. Next, it helps diagnose strengths and weaknesses in reading comprehension skills. So, assessments are like diagnostic tools that reveal where students excel and where they might need extra support in understanding what they read. This insight is crucial for teachers to provide targeted assistance and enhance overall comprehension skills. Next, GAICA 2016. Assessment results and measure data assist in evaluating institutional practices and tracking the assessment system's components functioning. So GAICA's perspective emphasizes that assessment results, along with other data, are valuable for sports or schools to evaluate how well their assessment system work. It's like using feedback to improve the overall effectiveness of educational practices. Next, Bachman 2004. Assessment quantifies attributes related to students' performance while preserving performance quality. Bachman highlights that assessments assign numerical values to aspects of students' performance while ensuring the quality of their work is maintained. It's like grading students work accurately while considering the depth of their understanding and skills. Next, Gallagher 19 and 98. Measurement assignments qualify or quantifies characteristics or qualities and can be expressed through correct responses, percentages, or numerical scores. Gallagher's perspective underlines that assessment quantifies various aspects of student performance, whether it's through correct answers, percentages, or scores. This helps teachers gauge how students are doing, identify areas of improvement. Next, for Marion Orr 2007. Assessment drives instructional by informing teachers about students' knowledge and progress, shaping learning based on assessment methods, and providing feedback for students' awareness of strengths and challenges. Marion emphasizes that assessments guide teaching by giving teachers insights into what students know, how they're progressing, and where they need help. It's like using assessment feedback to steer teaching practices in a way that supports students' learning and growth. Next, students' performance reflects their degrees of attainment of learning outcomes, including critical thinking skills and emotional management. This means that how students perform in assessment shows how well they've achieved the desired learning objectives, such as critical thinking and emotional control. It's like seeing evidence of their learning journey and the skills they've developed along the way. So, assessment in teaching reading provides opportunities for reflection and improvement in teaching practices. Finally, assessments in reading offer teachers a chance to reflect on their teaching methods and make improvements. It's like a feedback loop that helps teachers enhance their strategies to better support students' learning. So, that is my part. Next reporter, please.
As prospective teachers, it is of the great value that apart from understanding the concepts and purposes of assessment in reading, you need to be further exposed on the types of assessment in reading as well. In TeachDot, it is noted that there are 6 types of assessment. First is diagnostic as pre-assessment. Second is formative assessment. Third is summative assessment. Fourth is the norm reference assessment. Fifth is a criterion reference assessment. And last is interim or benchmark assessment. So let's proceed first with diagnostic assessment. Diagnostic as pre-assessment, whereby students' strengths, weaknesses, knowledge, and skills are assessed. It is usually done before instruction and is usually done right after seeing signs of reading problems. Its purpose is to determine the level of competence of the students and to determine the reading problems to formulate plan for remedial action. Next is formative assessment. Formative assessment is used to monitor the student's performance and check it during instruction and usually occurs regularly throughout the instruction process. It is used to monitor the reading process or the reading progress of the students during or after the instruction. This assessment is used to reinforce successful learning, for it uses or for it provide immediate feedback for both the students and the teachers. It provides information to the teacher for modifying instruction to improve reading. Next we have is the summative assessment. Summative assessment is used to measure the student's achievement at the end of the instruction. It aims to determine the learner's mastery and provide information for judging appropriateness of effectiveness of the instructional objectives. An example of a summative assessment is the final exam. The fourth type of assessment is the norm reference assessment. This type of assessment is used to compare the student's performance against the other students in a much larger group. Compare a person's scores against the scores of a group of people who have already taken the same exam is called the norming group. Example of this type of assessment is the NAT, in which the results are used to rank individuals, providing a relative measure of performance rather than an absolute one. The next type of assessment is criterion reference assessment. This type of assessment is used to measure the student's performance with respect to some particular goal, specific objective, or standard. Example of this type of assessment is when the teacher provides students essay activity where the teacher presents the students criteria that the students will use as a guide to deliver their essay effectively. Interim or benchmark assessment. This type of assessment is used to evaluate a student's performance at periodic intervals, frequently at the end of a grading period. They are fixed assessment evaluating students against specific grade level. It helps assess the mastery over a longer period of time. The goal of benchmarking is to identify students' academic strengths and weaknesses and use that information to guide the future instruction. In the teaching of reading, the primary focus of assessment is to the development of reading skills that eventually guide the students to become critical and creative thinkers. Word recognition for early graders and critical vocabulary development for the advanced graders are given importance, as well as this obviously lead to the understanding of the written texts. Another type of reading assessment is the informational reading inventory. It serves to diagnose, develop, and remediate phonological knowledge, vocabulary, as well as reading skills that need to be further developed or reinforced by the students. It is used to evaluate students' reading skills, specifically focusing on their ability to comprehend and analyze informational texts. IRI helps teachers measure students' reading comprehension abilities, identifying areas of strength and weaknesses, and tailor instruction to meet individual needs. These reading assessment tools are highly essential in ensuring that the provided activities are primarily geared towards the attainment of reading skills. As these students are guided with these skills, it is not only for academic purposes, but for the actualization of real-life experiences.
Phonological awareness. It is a basic reading skills that focuses on understanding the spoken words comprise the individual sounds of the spoken language. So it means that if the letter of the word is delivered or produced correctly and appropriately, then it becomes more comprehensible. So, Blanchman from 2000 added that students with strong phonological awareness are likely to become good readers, but students with weak phonological skills will likely become poor readers. I think it is true because reading is about understanding or comprehension, and because you have strong phonological awareness, it is easy for you to have fun and read regularly, as you enjoy it as well as you learn from it. So, Gillion from 2004 posited that phonemic awareness performance can predict literacy performance more accurately than variables such as intelligence, vocabulary, knowledge, and socioeconomic status. So, we have We have here some practical activities that helps develop and reinforce phonemic awareness, and here are what we suggest. So first is exercising the vocal cords. So you guided the students to open their mouth, inhale and exhale, and trust a vibrating sound out coming from the diaphragm for 5 minutes. And next is we have letter word recognition articulation. So it is when you draw a paper with an identified letter on it. As you present the drawn letter to the students, you call them at a random and let them name anything that starts with the letter presented. As the student says the word, you pay particular attention to the proper articulation of the word. Then the activity continues for 5 minutes. Gillion from 2004 posited that phonemic awareness performance can predict literacy performance more accurately than variables such as intelligence, vocabulary knowledge, and socioeconomic status. So here we have some practical activities that help develop and reinforce phonemic awareness, and herein suggested. So first, I have the exercising the vocal cords. So in exercising the vocal cords, you guide the students to open their mouth, inhale, exhale, and trust a vibrating sound out coming from the diaphragm for 5 minutes. So the next exercise is letter word recognition and articulation. So you draw a paper with an identified letter on it. As you present the drawn letter to the students, you call them at a random and let them name anything that starts with the letter presented. As the student says the word, you pay particular attention to the proper pronunciation of the word. Then the activity continues for 5 minutes. Comprehension. Comprehension is the understanding and interpretation of what is read. According to Tierney, in 1982, comprehension or extracting meaning from what you read is the ultimate goal of reading. It is because what is the point of reading if you don't understand what you are reading? This being the ultimate aim of reading, comprehension skills need to be deep-seated in the academic experience of the students. Here are some reading assessment activities that can help reinforce the students' reading comprehension skills. We have interpreting graphs and symbol translation. So in interpreting graphs, look for any relevant data presented in graphs, then interpret objectively the facts and provide proactive measures for a way forward. So the next one is the symbol translation. Symbol translation, we present the flags on the different countries in the world. Students are given the freedom to choose the flag that attracts them or that signifies meaning to them. They are called individually to explain and to give interpretation to the symbols of the chosen flag. Fluency is defined as the ability to read with speed, accuracy, and proper expression. So this is reading skills that gives you credence to the smooth transition of words, thus creating a comprehensible idea. So it's not just about how fast you read, but it is also about reading with speed, with accuracy, and proper expression, and as well as comprehension. So Neoprent from 2012 noted that reading fluency is the ability to read accurately, smoothly, and with expression. So from the big ideas in beginning reading, fluency is reading words with no noticeable cognitive or mental effort. It is having master word recognition skills to the point of overlearning. Fundamental skills are so automatic that they do not require conscious attention. So if you are fluent, then reading is just an easy piece for you. People will not notice some cognitive or mental efforts when you read because you are fluent and it's easy for you to understand and to read with speed and as well as accuracy. So the following are suggested activities that can help develop or reinforce students' fluency. So we have the last word is mine and free talk. So the last word is mine is the students are grouped into 4. Then you present a pressing issue or a little of a story to each group alternately. In a span of 10 seconds, each student in a group says something about topic or the story. After 10 seconds, the student stops. His or her last words become the first word of the next student or speaker. This process continues until the last student of the group is able to say something and to close the topic or story. The next is the free talk. Given a photo image of their interest, the students are tasked to say something about it without obstruction. You may note the students' correctness and miscues along the way. So those are the activities that can develop or reinforce students' fluency skills. Seeing the value of vocabulary development to reading, a basic requisite towards its acquisition is to read every day. So here are some activities on vocabulary development that can be employed in reading class. First is the word rally. The word rally is a big idea is presented on the board or a screen. The students are called to write or type other words similar to the one presented. This can be done in 2 to 3 minutes. After, any student is identified to use any of the words in meaningful context. So next is the emoji interpretation. A newspaper caricature or an emoji is presented and students describe it by choosing the appropriate word. You provide a number of terms to serve as a basis for the student's choice. After the identification of the right term, any student can use it in meaningful context.